Hello and welcome to KRWG Public Media 2024 election coverage featuring New Mexico House District 36. KRWG Public Media and the League of Women Voters are pleased to present this forum. The rules for this forum are the candidate will have 90 seconds to answer each question and should not mention his opponent in his answer. My co-moderator for this forum is Elisa Sanchez with the League of Women Voters of Southern New Mexico. We welcome Democratic incumbent candidate Nathan Small. KRWG Public Media invited Republican candidate Kim Skaggs to join us. Her campaign informed us that she was unavailable. Let's start with the first question. For Representative Small, why are you seeking re-election?
Thank you so much, Anthony and Elisa. It's really a privilege to be here with KRWG. I believe that good leadership matters and that I can make a difference. And we are seeing a difference in our communities. Bringing Southern New Mexico solutions to the state capital, we're seeing Las Cruces, Doña Ana County, and LCPS raise our graduation rates above the state average. Now the state's working to catch up to us. We're growing our economy using value-added agriculture, manufacturing, logistics, and other areas through our investments. The rest of the state is working to catch up to us. We're focusing on public safety, and $100 million that I helped set aside to hire local law enforcement is bringing new Las Cruces police officers, new Doña Ana County Sheriff's deputies. And we're focusing on infrastructure, on roads, on broadband, on water, which we know down here is critical for our future opportunity and our really spectacular quality of life. It's for those reasons, and because we have a chance with strong budgets and inclusive, transparent leadership to really work to make now the best time ever to be a New Mexican, that I want to help be part of that and to bring Southern New Mexico and Doña Ana County voices to the legislature.
Okay, we'll move on to our next question.
If elected, what are your highest priorities?
Thank you so much. Just last year, I was named the chair of the Budget Committee. The first time in quite a long time that a Southern New Mexican, a Doña Ana County resident, has had that privilege. In that role, we focused on public safety. We set aside that $100 million for law enforcement to recruit new sheriff's deputies, new police officers. We made over $500 million of investments in education and did really important things like a summer internship program where all those funds came to Doña Ana County, employed over 1,500 local Doña Ana County high school students. They were giving back to their community, working in these important areas. They were getting paid, bringing a paycheck home during the summer. It's continuing to focus on those investments in education. We've really worked on apprenticeship and job training so that now any New Mexican who wants to be a teacher, a nurse, a social worker, maybe get a CDL, a commercial driver's license, or become a plumber, or so many other things, work on expanding our transmission grid. There's now combined $90 million, $30 million in apprenticeship trust fund, $20 million a year to higher ed for job training. That is sort of a guarantor that if they work hard, whoever they are, at whatever age, they can get that training and get those really good paying jobs. And then I talked about infrastructure, roads, water, broadband. Those will continue to be my highest priorities.
Okay, we're going to move on to our next question. What state laws, if any, do you believe should be passed regarding firearm safety?
Thank you so much. As a lifelong gun owner, as a hunter, as somebody who knows that part of New Mexico from a very personal level, I know that gun ownership is an important part of our state. It's in our federal constitution. In fact, it's in our state constitution. I also know that children have the right to be safe when they go to school, and that our streets should not be a free-for-all, shoot-'em-up scenario. That's why common sense gun safety laws, like a red flag warning, where if you know somebody's dangerous, if they're saying they're going to shoot up a school, they should not be able to have a firearm during that period. Similarly, if they're threatening a family member, a loved one, that red flag law is important there. Background checks for everybody. You know, it shouldn't matter where I go to buy a gun. There should be a background check that is there for all of us. These are the sorts of common sense gun safety measures that we've enacted, and I know as a hunter, as a gun owner, help to keep us all safe.
Okay, we're moving on to our next question.
What can state lawmakers do to address the violent crime and property crime in New Mexico?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. I think it first starts with the fact that we all have the right to feel safe in our homes, in our communities, going to and from work, to and from school. We need more law enforcement officers. That's why I passed $100 million, first time the state has had that funding to help local departments, sheriffs, police officers, now correctional officers in our correctional institutions, to both retain and recruit, so to hire and keep more law enforcement officers. More public safety officers is important. We also need strategic investments in important infrastructure. That can be things like DNA readers. That can be things like crime scene and evidence processing labs, so that folks don't have to drive all the way up to Albuquerque, so that when there's a crime committed, there is swift and sure justice. We're investing in our justice system, working with district attorneys, the public defenders, and judges to make sure that, crimes are swiftly adjudicated. Now, there is also another component that means more housing, that means better drug treatment, stronger behavioral health, and I'm really pleased that New Mexico, or Southern New Mexico, with folks like La Clinica de Familia, are leading that effort, and we're building more housing, substance use treatment, and behavioral health care.
Okay, now the next question deals with one of those issues you brought up. What do you feel the state legislature can do to improve mental health services?
Yeah, such an important question. We've taken a very big step. We have committed to raising our reimbursement rates. They're going to be 150% of Medicaid reimbursement rates of the federal Medicare standard. What that means is that there's going to be more payments each time a New Mexican goes to a healthcare professional. That healthcare professional can afford to come, stay, grow their family and their practice here in Southern New Mexico. Raising those reimbursement levels is absolutely essential. And in my role as the House Budget Chair, I'm really working to make sure not only can we raise those reimbursements, also that we can sustain them. There are additional resources. We've invested over $200 million separate from that in our behavioral health care system. And again, La Clinica de Familia, their ACT, it's assertive community therapy, is a really important way. It's sort of a really strong wraparound service, serving the folks who are often justice involved, law enforcement and first responders, fire department, others. We're funding things like that so that those services get to people who are in need of them most. We're going to be ready to continue to support capital investments, recruit more healthcare, hire and retain more healthcare professionals, all of those things.
Okay, we're moving on to our next question.
If elected, how do you plan on addressing the substance abuse problem here in New Mexico?
Yeah, thank you. It's such an important question. First, we need, I think we do need more law enforcement officers, as I've talked about. Second, we need more healthcare professionals, and we're not only recruiting and retaining more, we're also growing that pipeline. So we've endowed social work chairs here at New Mexico State University and other parts of the state. We're funding the practicum, so someone who becomes a social worker now has a stipend when they do that final professional training. We're going to flood New Mexico, or we're going to really flow and expand the number of healthcare workers in New Mexico, including those licensed social workers. Those are the ways, in addition to more treatment centers, medication-assisted treatment, MAT, we want to make that a tool that's utilized by all of our, that is available to all of our healthcare professionals and that is readily accessible by those facing substance use disorder. And we've made the largest ever investment, over $200 million, with I think more to come, into housing, from transitional housing to affordable and market rate housing, because one of the reasons folks can slip into that substance use slide is because when they lose that housing. So we're working at all ends.
Okay, the next question deals with an issue you mentioned already, and that has to do with affordable housing. What's your plan to address affordable housing in New Mexico?
The first thing that we've done, and we're going to continue to do, is dedicate more resources. As House Budget Chair, we are flowing over $200 million statewide, and that's helping down here. It's building homes at Peachtree Canyon. It should support Amador Crossing and a number of other projects all around the city of Las Cruces and partnership with Doña Ana County. Now, we have to go deeper though. We have to work with local municipalities, with counties, with cities to make it easier to build, quite frankly. We want to set a high standard, but then we don't want that standard to be something that gets delayed and delayed and delayed, because that adds more and more and more cost, and it keeps those homes from hitting the market. There is also a component here where we've invested in the infrastructure. There is an Opportunity Enterprise Fund to support the infrastructure. So not just that home construction or apartments or what have you, but the roads, the water, the wastewater, because that can sometimes be a big holdup in getting those units. We're investing heavily in growing and diversifying our economy, knowing that that's also a component of creating this sort of healthy, strong, vibrant New Mexico. Working with our local municipalities is quite important though, on their rules.
What reforms would you support to improve New Mexico's educational ranking?
Yeah, thank you, Elisa, and so appropriate. This is such an important question. We are doing some things now that we've just begun to do, I think are very important. One, we're paying dual language, particularly tribal languages. You know, we have over 20 sovereign tribal nations in the state of New Mexico. For those educators who speak that language, we're elevating them to that level 1 teacher licensure, essentially increasing their pay because we know language is so important. I believe that for our bilingual educators, we need to explore those same sorts of tools so that our educators who speak Spanish have that financial support to be in the classroom, because we know kids need to see a reflection of themselves in that educator. We have raised educator assistant salaries to a living wage. That's an important part, because we want to support teachers. We just don't want it to fall on one teacher with so many different responsibilities. So we're enhancing that learning within the classroom. There's more work that we have to do, but I think fundamentally diversifying and growing our educator workforce. We now have some of the best paid teachers in the entire region. We're going to fight to keep it that way. We're going to support our students with the types of materials and support them as close to year-round as possible so they have learning and activities that engage them and their families.
All right, our next question. If reelected, what steps will you take to address healthcare challenges in New Mexico?
Yeah, we're recruiting and retaining, hiring and keeping more healthcare professionals. The reimbursement rates is an essential part of that. We're going to be at 150% of Medicare in our Medicaid reimbursement rates, which covers a great deal of our state's population. That's going to raise the bar for everyone. That's a strong tool. We need to explore things like removing the gross receipts tax on healthcare professionals. That can make it harder to practice in New Mexico. We need to explore removing that. We're also growing our pipeline. You know, right here at New Mexico State University, not only the social workers, the nurses that are endowed, you also have the Burrell College of Osteopathic Medicine. We've dedicated, in my time as House Appropriations Chair, over $2.5 million to support new residencies for students and new graduate medical opportunities so that when they go through their training, that final training in a healthcare setting, whether it's a clinic, sort of a clinic and hospital combined, that they can be in our communities, build those roots. We're supporting folks like La Clinica di Familia, other federally qualified health centers, but pay folks well, look at tools like the gross receipts tax, expand coverage for New Mexicans in the Healthcare Affordability Act, and grow our pipeline.
All right, our next question.
How can the legislature address water issues in our increasingly arid state?
Yeah. Increasingly arid is exactly right, and we have some pretty dire forecasts that suggest 25% less at a minimum surface water in the coming years. That is a very big challenge. Unsurprisingly, with our strong budgets, and I'm proud of my leadership, we're dedicating more resources to efficiently managing our water, so that is losing less of it in the different ways, whether that's leaky pipes, whether that's leaky acequias or conveyance systems. You want to make that part more efficient. You also have to work sort of upstream, the watershed health, so that more rainfall, and what we're also forecast to see is more intense summer rain events. We need to work upstream and enhance the watershed health across New Mexico, including very high in our mountains and down here as well in our mountainous areas. That's going to keep more water and let that water release go down into our aquifers and not just run off all at once and erode everything along with it. I believe there's also another component. That's why I passed the Produce Water Act in 2019. It was unanimous through the House, nearly in the Senate. That's saving billions of gallons of water annually in New Mexico by reusing produced water in the oil and gas industry. And we can treat, using New Mexico's technology, look at non-traditional water sources for sort of new water.
All right, thank you. Next question, what is your plan to improve public transportation?
Yeah, I'm so proud of the South Central Regional Transit District. They're expanding service to Sierra County. They've been serving folks here in Doña Ana and also in Otero County. We need to continue to support our transit districts robustly. Working with our House Transportation Chair, Day Hockman Vigil, we dedicated new funds for our transportation infrastructure and roadways. Now, on the public transportation side, South Central Regional Transit District, those districts are super important. And we have to look forward at ways connecting our state. There are opportunities potentially utilizing high-speed rail. There's also an air component with our Las Cruces airport that I believe has a role there. So there's still a lot of work to do. At the end of the day, we're the 5th largest state. We are very small in population compared to Arizona. Little over 2 million people. There are over 9 million folks. So there are challenges within that space, but I do think, again, working with South Central Regional Transit District, the success that they're seeing, we can continue to expand public transportation options for all New Mexicans.
What changes, if any, need to be made to the tax structure in New Mexico?
Yeah, we have cut taxes for all New Mexicans over the past several years, and that's made our tax system more fair. We've reduced the state share of the gross receipts tax. We've eliminated the state tax on Social Security. We've created and then increased our state child tax credit and increased our working families tax credit and our earned income tax credit. That's actually dropped our childhood poverty below 10%. That is a big step forward for the state of New Mexico, or it's been a big part of that drop. We need to continue to make the tax code more fair, including identifying and eliminating those loopholes that exist out there. We've reduced personal income taxes and also made our personal income tax system more fair. At the same time, again in my role as budget chair, we're using the new big resources that are coming into our budget largely as a result of energy production, both renewable energy, but especially oil production, primarily in the southeast part of our state, and investing that in not only recurring day-to-day priorities, but permanent funds. Those permanent funds over time sort of lessen the tax burden each of us bear as New Mexicans.
What would you propose to diversify New Mexico's economy and promote sustainable economic growth?
Yep. I got that question earlier this year. The question is when? My answer, now. We're doing that now by investing in infrastructure. We're investing in our workforce and in education. The workforce investments truly mean that if a New Mexican wants to become a social worker or a nurse or a teacher, get their commercial driver's license, go become a plumber, learn how to work on the transmission that's going up in the renewable energy installation and wind installation that's happening, that New Mexican can go debt-free to get that training. So that workforce is key. We need to invest in the infrastructure at places like Santa Teresa, the Las Cruces Industrial Park, and others, draw in some of the biggest clean energy investments, leveraging federal investments that have been made in the Biden-Harris administration. Landing some of those could provide really strong anchors. Now, to do that, and especially to grow and diversify, we frankly need new water. Our water that pie is sliced very thin and sort of spoken for now, if you will, between agriculture, the folks who live in our cities and industries. I think treating non-traditional sources of water is key to also growing and diversifying our economy.
In what ways should the state legislature be addressing its child welfare system to create better outcomes for foster children in New Mexico?
Yeah, this is a place of grave disappointment and deep importance. I am disappointed that the executive has rebuffed and rejected the legislature's bipartisan calls for independent monitoring and oversight of the Children, Youth, and Families Department, and that they have not utilized the new and significant resources we've dedicated their way in an effective manner. It is a deep disappointment and it's unacceptable. The treatment of kids in the foster system, including kids sleeping in offices sometimes, is simply unacceptable. And the maltreatment through, I think, ultimately ineffective, poor, and unacceptable upper and middle leadership has to change. There is a funding component. There is also an independent oversight and leadership component, and our Speaker of the House and bipartisan members. And I'm so proud that Representative Tara Jaramillo from District 38 has been an absolute and fierce leader in this space, leaning in, holding the executive accountable, and fighting for our kids. And I will do everything I can to support her and to support them.
All right, we're going to move on to our last question. What's your plan to address the growing rates of food insecurity in our state?
Yeah, we've invested heavily in local food networks over the past several years. We've begun to support our local food bank network, and Casa de Peregrinos, of course, is a shining star here in southern New Mexico. I was proud to actually help them find and then support the investment that created and then expanded their Amador facility. We need to continue to support that emergency food access. We've supported expansion of SNAP benefits and other local tools like Double Up Bucks, other things that connect New Mexicans to local agricultural producers. There is a big role for us supporting our local agriculture and helping those products meet New Mexicans. I think there's also a role here where you grow and diversify the economy so that folks have more purchasing power, and that's why we've cut taxes to give folks more purchasing power. But especially for rural New Mexicans, the options, we need to help get more options for healthier food. Oftentimes that's going to mean healthy local food. We need to help connect them to those food sources and options to help, frankly, make it easier to be in those places, better to have and raise their standard of living.
That concludes our New Mexico House District 36 Candidate Forum. We want to thank our incumbent Democratic candidate Nathan Small for joining us, and our co-moderator Elisa Sanchez with the League of Women Voters of Southern New Mexico. A reminder, you can stay updated with local election coverage by visiting the KRWG News Election Center at our website, krwg.org. I'm Anthony Moreno. Thank you for joining us. Election Day is Tuesday, November 5th.